Fernand back on News Radio 610 WIOD. And folks, it is time to do what we do in this American democracy. A lot of people don't like it. A lot of people are disgusted by the thought of it, especially here in South Florida that overwhelmingly voted for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. But fair is fair, and congratulations are in order to our next guest, the man who held belief until the very last moment, Roger Stone. Congratulations, Roger.
Thank you, Fernand. I'm sending a heaping helping of crow over to the studio for you to have lunch on.
Well, let me tell you, Roger, I got crow coming out of all my holes after having just eaten and Golden Corral-style portions of it over the last 4 or 5 days. But, Roger, I got to hand it to you. And you know that the polls did not look good, Roger. I know you're a serious student of public opinion. What happened? How did the Trump campaign pull off the massive, stunning upset that it did?
Well, polls should never be viewed as static because, as you well know, the moment they're taken, they're already obsolete. People move quickly. So a correct reading of the polls at the end should have been directional, as opposed to, who was ahead or behind by whatever points. I felt Trump had the momentum going into the last 10 days. I thought that his momentum was further accelerated by the announcement by the FBI that they were reopening the investigation into the email server. His momentum was not broken by Comey's seemingly political announcement on Monday that, there's nothing there, folks. That's a lie, by the way. It just didn't have the effect. Perhaps it was because Comey had burned out his credibility earlier. But it was always a question for me, Fernand, whether Trump could get there on time, whether he would crest at the right time or whether he would lose narrowly, and peak on Wednesday. As it turns out, he peaked at exactly the right time, and a decision that the campaign made that I was strongly in favor of and argued for, of shifting late resources, including Trump appearances, but also substantial media dollars into Michigan and Wisconsin in the final week, I think put him over the top in the end. 2 states he was not expected to even be competitive in.
No doubt whatsoever about that. As we continue our conversation with Roger Stone here in the Stone Zone, if you want to speak to Roger, I imagine many of you do. 866-610-6397 is that number. 866-610-6397. And Roger, one of the things that I certainly talked about throughout this campaign was the idea that Donald Trump couldn't necessarily be taken exactly at his word on every single one of those campaign promises, and not so much of that being an insult to him, but really given the negotiating school that he's come out of in the business world, that many of these policy positions were kind of first mover advantages of extreme positions that he would then maybe walk back. And Roger, we're starting to see some evidence of that. Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that Trump is retreating a little bit from some of these positions that seem to have been sacredly held throughout the campaign?
No, first of all, I'm not sure he really is retreating, but he's a realist, and I think he wants to achieve the achievable. You're in a period here where the news media desperately needs something to write, and there's not a lot of news coming out of the new administration, not a lot of real news coming out of the transition. Virtually any name, for example, that you read in the newspaper or see online as being considered for this or that job, in almost all cases that is self-generated by the person named. It's a way to get speculated about, but I think the true transition is still slow to be organized and is not yet up online. So I'm not sure that any of those job seekers are doing anything other than promoting themselves. Trump had already begun in the campaign, and I think conceded that while it would be difficult to deport 11 million illegal immigrants, it would not be difficult to deport 2 million who had criminal records, who had committed crimes and been convicted of them in the United States. Those people are imminently findable through the rather sophisticated database, and it would be a step in the right direction towards his goal. He's a pragmatist. There's no question about that. He believes in the possible, but he is going to do everything humanly possible to seal our borders, to revitalize our economy, to renegotiate these globalist trade deals that have brought us to our knees. I think Trump, merely needs to be Trump to be successful.
Roger, one of the concerns that a lot of folks have since Donald Trump was elected, whether it's online or through social media or through a variety of different forms, there seemed to be an increase in incidents where non-Trump supporters, whether they be Hispanic, whether they be Muslim, are dealing with the aftermath from Trump supporters saying very negative things, very hostile, even racist comments. And some of the concerns about that were spiked over the weekend when Trump did indeed name, you talk about folks that were out there being floated, this was actually named by the Trump administration, Steve Bannon as his chief strategist. Trump did, to his credit, last night go on 60 Minutes and ask his supporters to cease and desist from any of this kind of behavior. But isn't there legitimate concern, Roger, by folks that say this election of Donald Trump has basically given a lot of people the freedom or the right in their own sense or feeling that they can have open season on folks that aren't like them?
Boy, you live in a mirror universe, my friend. I was in New York last night and I saw kids carrying a giant banner that said "Rape Melania." I saw kids using the F word, chanting over and over again outside Trump Tower and all these other places. I think you've got it exactly backwards. There are some people, many of them paid, who can't seem to accept the results of this election, and it's open season for them on us. I don't like being called a white nationalist because I'm not one. I don't like being called a Russian agent because I'm not one. I'm not seeing these excesses that you describe. I'm just not seeing them. I actually think it's the other way around. Some folks in this country better get used to the fact that we just had an election. I wasn't happy when Barack Obama was elected, but I didn't take to the streets.
But Roger, I think what's a little bit different, and even in our own case, we have a personal case. Our producer, Scotty Mednick, his brother owns a gas station in the New Jersey area, and it was documented there. There was a postal worker, saw a Hispanic man going about his business, going to get some cigarettes, and he started hurling insults. And there have been comments like that, not to suggest that every single one of the anti-Trump protesters are as pure as the driven snow. But I guess my question is, what do you think Donald Trump can do to temper down the temperature around a lot of people that say, hey, it's ugly out there, we're concerned, we're fearful?
When will Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama call on the anti-Trump demonstrators to cease? That hasn't happened. I've been waiting for that. That's leadership.
Well, Roger, Hillary Clinton did call. She did say that Trump earns the benefit of the doubt in terms of an opportunity to govern and lead. Barack Obama received him with all of the fanfare, and he's going to make some comments, I understand, this afternoon at 3:15. But again, isn't the onus on President-elect Trump to unite the country, and don't people need to look to him to leadership to take and tamp down some of these reactions we've seen in some cases?
I actually think it's time for George Soros to cut off the money to those that he is paying to protest and to throw things and to yell obscenities. That's where I see the real blame here. Trump, it appears to me on 60 Minutes, he did what you wanted. We have something in this country called the First Amendment. Some people find it troubling. The great thing about the First Amendment is anyone can say anything they want. That's what makes this a great country.
All right, let's go to the phones at 866.
For Trump supporters, we've taken plenty of income coming over the last 6 months. I really think your criticism here is misguided. I think you're criticizing the wrong people.
All right, 866-610-6397. If you want to talk to Roger Stone, let's kick it off with Mario. Mario, you're on with Roger Stone.
Hey, Roger, my real thing was with a couple of your callers before. One guy was called Roger. He said he was a Democrat, a liberal Democrat, and was surprised why they had picked Bannon. Is he surprised when Democrats pick liberal leftists or gather their wisdom like Bill Ayers and that other guy Saul Alinsky? It's okay for liberals and Democrats to seek, ultra left, but God forbid that Trump picks a guy. I think they said that the guy was. I'm not sure. Is O'Banion like a veteran or something?
I assume you're referring to Steve Bannon, and he's a conservative. He is a non-establishment conservative. He owns one of the largest and most successful online conservative news outlets. He has a point of view, but as a great politician who I think was a Democrat once said, "Who am I supposed to hire? My enemies?"
Roger, and we're going to go back to the phones in just a second, but you had said, and you've said it on this program and in other forums, that if Hillary Clinton had been elected this past Tuesday, that you would have led a series of protests protesting her election to the presidency. Is it wrong for people who peacefully disagree with Donald Trump to also take to the streets and protest his election?
What I think I actually said was I would lead a protest if I became convinced that the election had been hijacked from him on the basis of either voter fraud or voter machine manipulation. We live in a democratic society. I can think of the election of several presidents I was unhappy about, but the election came and it went, and you accept the results. Unless there's evidence of fraud, in which case, no, then I think it would be incorrect to ignore that. I also said that on the program.
We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with your phone calls and Roger Stone at 866-610-6397 on News Radio 610 WIOD. Fernand Amati back on News Radio 610 WIOD as we continue our conversation with the man who is maybe taking the biggest victory lap in America next to Donald Trump himself. 40-year friend of Donald Trump and Donald Trump insider, veteran of 9 presidential campaigns. Maybe perhaps he's just put the bow on the most historic, the most consequential. We will see what the good book of history tells us, Roger Stone. And Roger, one of my other questions for you, looking at the popular vote right now, it looks like Hillary Clinton may end up with a popular vote lead of 1 million votes or more, which means that a good, healthy percentage of the American electorate, and majority, in fact, did not vote for Donald Trump. So from a governing perspective, Roger, if you're advising President-elect Trump, what can he do and what should he do to win back the support, or maybe dial down some of the concerns that those that didn't support Donald Trump for president are thinking right now? What can he do and what should he do?
Well, first of all, I'm not prepared to concede the popular vote. They're still counting, and I actually think at the end of the day, Trump will narrowly win in the popular vote as well. I could be wrong, but let's see. Look, Trump needs to revitalize our economy. A growing economy, more money in people's pockets, more revenues for government, and you can now solve all your other problems, whether it is rebuilding military or more for worthy social programs, whatever it may be. So I really think as a businessman particularly, that will be his focus. A boom economy that extends to our inner cities will go a long way towards building greater trust and a broader governing coalition for Trump. I think the man needs to be given a chance. Yesterday I was reading online some gay people who were convinced that Trump would now dissolve gay marriages. Complete nonsense. Total nonsense. He's never said anything of the kind. He wouldn't do any of the kind. I'm not even sure legally how you would do such a thing. It can't be done. It's the worst idea I've ever heard. So I think a lot of things are being imputed to him that he's not doing or not involved in or isn't interested in. I can't stop the Ku Klux Klan from having their own march, but that doesn't mean Donald Trump endorses their march. He doesn't.
All right, let's go to the telephones at 866-610-6397. Jose, you're on with Roger Stone.
Hey, Roger, congratulations. And my comment is, Fernand, is public school teachers, they really need to get a grip. My kids go to public school, and actually my wife's a Dade County public school teacher. And some of these teachers are out there, protesting on Friday, blocking traffic, causing mayhem, people getting really upset, trying to get home, trying to, they have kids to pick up and all that. And then they're out there protesting, what are you teaching our kids, They don't want to look at the face of them. They don't even want to look at my wife anymore and say hi, or they're taking this like what are they doing? What are they teaching our kids?
Jose, I've said on this program, and this is for Roger's benefit as well, who I don't think was listening. I think right now, today, the protests are a little bit misguided, and I don't condone anything that is not a peaceful form of dissent. Having said that, I also think that this petition to get electoral college voters to vote for Hillary Clinton is anti-democratic, repulsive, and horrifying to me as an American. I denounce that everywhere. But Jose, there have been
demonstrators really want to be angry about something. If they really want to focus their ire on someone, perhaps they should focus it on the people around Hillary Clinton who ran perhaps the worst presidential campaign in modern American history. Maybe that's what they should be angry
we
at.
could talk about that, but Roger and Jose, the point I do want to make, and Roger, I've seen this, and it isn't just one incident, it isn't a standalone. Chants of "build the wall" to Hispanic students made by students in other schools around the country, swastikas and KKK signs in Hispanic go home. You've seen incidents like that. That is very concerning, Jose, and I think public school teachers have an obligation to not foster or allow any kind of intolerance like that in their classrooms. Schools are safe spaces, and to Roger's point, it was a fair and square election. Donald Trump is a legitimate president of the United States. I don't think anybody should undermine that. But what they should speak out loudly against are Americans who didn't support Donald Trump having to deal with discrimination and insult because of his election. That's wrong.
Yeah.
If we could find
I
it.
mean, first of all, I'd be if I was a Democrat, I'd be upset that Bernie Sanders was the nominee. And it was obvious. That's what the people wanted. So.
All right, thanks for the phone call. Let's go back to the phones. We've got Manny on the line. Hey, Manny, you're on with Roger Stone.
Hey, good morning, Fernand. Good morning, Mr. Stone. How are you, gentlemen?
Excellent.
Hey, quick question. I'm trying to understand, and maybe both of you can explain to your listeners, Fernand. I don't understand. I guess I do, but I'm trying to find out. Before the election, most of the polls had Hillary up, and it was pretty much, I guess, listening to you, Fernand, it was pretty much a done deal. She was going to be the next president. But I was wondering if you can explain why, if the polls if Hillary was leading, why was Hillary campaigning up until the last moment and President Obama campaigning to the last minute and stuff like that? Did they have different polls, inner polls, or were they campaigning for the down ballot? Thank you, gentlemen.
I mean, I think it was a combination of both. I will. I mean, I agree with Roger 100%. I think that the Clinton campaign will go down in history as one of the more incorrectly run ones, and that's in spite of the fact that she won the popular vote. There's no question about that. But I think they took their eyes off the ball on the end game, which was 270 electoral votes, and that should have been their number one priority. Roger, I'll let you take the other side.
I mean, first of all, I think they were nervous going into Election Day. They saw the same thing that I saw. They saw the direction of this, and they saw it beginning to deteriorate. Now, they may have thought that they were going to squeeze it out, that it wouldn't move fast enough to catch up with them, but they turned out to be wrong. But if you look at the scheduling for Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea in the final week, they were dropping back to base states that they should have had in the bank. I don't know if she ever made a single appearance in Wisconsin or Michigan. Trump's decision to go in there late and to shift television money to those states, I think in the end was the strategic decision that elected him.
Roger, we got to run, and I know we're going to have you back next week talking about another one of our pet interest subjects, the Kennedy assassination. But Roger, before you go, what's next for Roger Stone in a President Donald Trump administration?
Well, I have no intention of joining the government. I served at the Office of Economic Opportunity under Don Rumsfeld in the Nixon administration. That was enough government for me. Fernand, I'm writing a book. The title is The Making of a President, How Donald Trump Orchestrated a Revolution and Proved the Media Wrong, which will be out by Inauguration Day. So that is my principal focus, to try to tell the inside story of this election and how it came to be the shocker that it was.
All right, Roger Stone, we'll have him back again next week. Thanks for joining us. And Roger, again, I certainly wasn't happy with the result, but congratulations are due, and they were well earned. Congratulations, Roger Stone.
Many thanks.
All right, we'll see you next week. We're back with more, folks, after this on News Radio 610.